Marcus thought he knew his wife of 17 years. Until he found a pink Victoria's Secret bag hidden in her closet with a card that read, "To my king," and it wasn't meant for him. What he discovered next would turn a 45-year-old construction foreman from Detroit into the most calculated man you've ever heard of. By the time Keisha realized what was happening, it was already too late. This is the story of how one man's patience became his deadliest weapon. Marcus Williams had built his life like he built houses, brick by brick, foundation first. At 45, he was the kind of man who fixed things instead of replacing them. His 2012 Ford F-150 had 200,000 miles on it, but it ran like new because Marcus maintained it religiously. His work boots were resold twice before he'd even think about buying new ones. For 17 years, he'd been married to Keisha, a paralegal at a downtown law firm. They had 2 kids, Damon, 16, star of the basketball team, and Aaliyah, 14, who had her mother's quick wit and her father's stubborn streak. Marcus thought he had it all figured out. Their house in Oak Park was modest but solid. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a small backyard where Marcus had built a deck with his own hands. Every morning, he'd kiss Keisha goodbye before heading to the construction site. Every evening, he'd come home to dinner and homework help and the comfortable routine of a family that worked. But routines, Marcus would learn, can blind you to the cracks forming right under your nose. It started 3 weeks before their anniversary. Marcus was looking for his old toolbox in the bedroom closet when he saw it. A pink Victoria's Secret bag pushed way back behind Keisha's winter coats. His heart did a small flip. It had been years since Keisha had bought anything from Victoria's Secret. Maybe she was planning something special for their anniversary. He almost looked inside. Almost. But Marcus was raised to respect privacy, so he left it alone. Instead, he found himself smiling at random moments throughout the day, thinking about that bag and what it might mean. Maybe his wife was still the woman who used to surprise him with lingerie and candlelit dinners. The anniversary fell on a Saturday. Marcus had taken the day off, something he rarely did. He'd made reservations at Keisha's favorite restaurant, the same place they'd had their first date. He'd even bought her a necklace, a simple gold chain with a small diamond pendant. Nothing flashy but quality, like everything else in their life. Keisha came home that evening with grocery bags and a tired expression. "Hey baby," she said, barely looking at him as she headed to the kitchen. "I'm exhausted. Rain check on dinner." Marcus stood there holding the reservation confirmation and the jewelry box. "But it's our anniversary." I know. But Denise is having relationship drama and she really needs me tonight. We can celebrate tomorrow." She was already texting as she spoke, thumbs flying across her phone screen. Marcus watched her for a long moment, then quietly put the jewelry box back in his pocket. "Sure," he said. "Tomorrow." But tomorrow came and went. And the next day. And the next. Keisha was suddenly busier than she'd ever been. Late nights at the office. Weekend emergencies. Always something urgent that couldn't wait. And that pink bag. It disappeared from the closet. Marcus started paying attention in ways he never had before. Not because he was suspicious. At least not at first. But because he felt like he was losing touch with his own wife. When did she start working so late? When did she stop asking about his day? When did she start taking her phone to the bathroom? The changes were subtle. New perfume. Clothes that fit a little tighter. A gym membership she'd never mentioned. Keisha had always been beautiful, but now she seemed to be dressing for someone else's eyes. 3 months after the missed anniversary, Marcus was folding laundry when Keisha's phone rang from the kitchen counter. She was in the shower and the phone kept ringing. Marcus glanced at the screen. Derek, office. He'd never heard that name before. And why would someone from the office be calling at 9 p.m. on a Sunday? Marcus didn't answer the phone. But he memorized the name. The next evening, he casually asked Keisha about her day. "How's work going?" You've been putting in crazy hours. Oh, same old stuff. Boring legal paperwork. Anyone new at the firm? Not really. Well, there's this new attorney, Derek. He's been helping me with some complex cases. Real professional guy. The way she said professional made Marcus's stomach turn. There was something in her voice, something soft and distant that she used to reserve for him. That night, Marcus lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Keisha slept beside him. He thought about the pink bag, about Derek, about the way his wife's face had changed when she said that name. For the first time in 17 years of marriage, Marcus wondered if he really knew the woman sleeping next to him. Marcus spent the next month becoming someone his wife didn't recognize. Not angry, not confrontational, just different. He started working out at 5 a.m. He bought new clothes. He took on additional projects at work, which gave him an excuse to be away from home more often. When Keisha noticed the changes, she seemed almost relieved. You seem, I don't know, more energetic lately, she said one evening. Just trying to take better care of myself, Marcus replied. Life's too short to waste it, Keisha nodded, but Marcus caught something in her expression. Guilt. Relief. It was hard to tell. Meanwhile, Marcus was documenting everything. He'd installed a small recording device in his truck and started recording his conversations with Keisha. He photographed receipts, saved text messages, and built a timeline of every lie she'd told him. He also started making financial preparations. Marcus opened a new bank account and began slowly transferring money from their joint savings. Not enough to trigger suspicion, but enough to ensure he wouldn't be left with nothing when she filed for divorce. He consulted with 3 different divorce attorneys, paying for initial consultations with cash. He learned about Michigan's divorce laws, about asset division, about child custody. He discovered that adultery didn't carry the legal weight he'd hoped for, but documented infidelity could still influence alimony and custody decisions. Most importantly, Marcus began building his own exit strategy. He started taking on side projects, building a client base that would follow him if he ever decided to start his own construction company. He renewed relationships with suppliers, subcontractors, and other professionals who could help him rebuild his life. The moment came on a Tuesday evening in March. Marcus was helping Damon with his college application essays when Keisha walked into the kitchen with that look on her face. The one that said she'd been rehearsing a speech. Marcus, we need to talk. He looked up from Damon's laptop. Sure. What's up? I mean, really talk. About us. About our marriage. Marcus felt his heart rate increase, but he kept his voice steady. Okay. Kids, give us some privacy. Damon and Aaliyah exchanged glances and headed upstairs. Marcus had prepared for this moment, but he still felt like he was about to jump off a cliff. I've been thinking a lot about our relationship, Keisha began. About where we are, where we're going. And I think we've grown apart. Marcus nodded slowly. I've felt that too. I love you, Marcus. I always will. But I'm not in love with you anymore. I don't think I have been for a while. There it was. The words he'd been expecting for weeks. But hearing them still felt like a punch to the chest. I think we should separate, Keisha continued. Maybe eventually divorce. I know it's not what either of us planned, but I think it's best for both of us. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Is there someone else? The question hung in the air like smoke. Keisha's face went through several expressions: surprise, guilt, defensiveness, and finally resignation. That's not what this is about, she said. That's not what I asked. Another long pause. Yes, there is. But Marcus, that's not why I want the divorce. I want the divorce because I'm not happy. I haven't been happy for years. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. Not anger, not pain, just a kind of clarity he'd never experienced before. How long? He asked. 6 months. Maybe 7. Marcus, I'm sorry. I never meant for it to happen. But it did happen. Yes, it did. Marcus stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet. Families settling in for the evening. Normal lives continuing normally. What do you want to do about the kids? He asked. I want what's best for them. I think they should stay in the house, keep going to the same school. We can work out a custody arrangement. And the house? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Marcus turned back to face his wife. The mother of his children. The woman he'd built a life with. The woman who'd been lying to him for months. Okay, he said. Keisha blinked. Okay. If that's what you want, we'll figure it out. She'd been prepared for tears, for accusations, for a fight. Marcus's calm acceptance seemed to throw her off balance. I think that's best, she said. For everyone. I'm sure you do. What Keisha didn't know was that Marcus had been preparing for this conversation for months. While she thought she was controlling the narrative, Marcus had been building his own story. The next morning he called his attorney. She asked for the divorce, he said. We're moving forward. Do you want to file first? The attorney asked. No, let her file. I want to see what she asks for. Marcus had learned that in divorce, like in construction, timing was everything. The person who acted first wasn't necessarily the person who won. Over the next few weeks, Marcus watched Keisha move through the house like a ghost. She'd told the kids about the separation, framing it as a mutual decision. Damon took it hard but tried to act tough. Aaliyah was angry at both of them, but especially at her mother, who she sensed was the one breaking up the family. Marcus continued his routine. Work, gym, home. He helped with homework, cooked dinner and maintained the house. He was the picture of stability while Keisha dealt with the emotional fallout of her decision. But privately, Marcus was executing a plan that would have made military strategists proud. He documented every interaction with Keisha. Every time she came home late, every phone call with Derek, every lie she told the children about where she was going. He had Ray continue surveillance, building a comprehensive record of the affair. More importantly, Marcus began positioning himself as the stable parent. He attended every school event, every basketball game, every parent-teacher conference. He made sure the kids' friends knew him as the reliable dad who was always there. When Keisha finally filed for divorce, her demands were exactly what Marcus had expected. She wanted the house, primary custody of the kids, and alimony. She wanted to maintain her lifestyle while starting fresh with Derek. But Marcus had been preparing for this moment for months. And his counterattack was going to be devastating. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Marcus got full custody of the children, the house, and his pension. Keisha got visitation rights, her car, and a small settlement that wouldn't last her 6 months. Derek Morrison's marriage didn't survive the revelation of his affair. His ex-wife took their children and moved to California. His legal career was over, and he was working as a claims adjuster for an insurance company. Keisha moved to a small apartment in Ferndale and took a job as a secretary at a different law firm. She saw her children every other weekend, but the relationship was strained. They'd lost respect for her, and she'd lost the comfortable life she'd thrown away. Marcus rebuilt his life brick by brick, the same way he'd built everything else. He started his own construction company, which grew rapidly thanks to his reputation for reliability and quality work. He focused on being the best father he could be to Damon and Aaliyah. He never remarried. When friends asked why, he would smile and say, "I'm not built for second chances. I'm built to make the first one count." And in the quiet moments when he was alone in the house he'd kept and the life he'd rebuilt, Marcus Williams would remember the pink Victoria's Secret bag and the anniversary dinner that changed everything. Some men crumble when they discover their wife's betrayal. Others rage and make mistakes that cost them everything. But Marcus Williams had done something different. He'd gotten patient, he'd gotten strategic, and he'd gotten even. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad. It's getting methodical. Remember to like and subscribe for more stories about ordinary people who refuse to be victims. The next story makes this one look like a warm-up.